G'day, the GOAT is back. Lewis Hamilton with his first win since Saudi in 2021. I was front and centre at one of the biggest sports events in the world, so let me tell you what went on. It's been 945 days since we last heard.
Get in there, Lewis!
But boy did he come back with a vengeance on Sunday at Silverstone. He admitted afterwards that he had doubted himself, and certainly luck went his way. We had the McLaren strategy and mistakes, George's DNF, but Lewis ended up on the top step of the podium in what was a remarkable day for the Brit. I queued up for about 10 laps in order to get a good spot to see Lewis come back into Parc Ferme, which he did holding a flag. He then hugged a couple of mechanics before he got out of the car and then stood on top of his car with the flag for some time, just soaking up the love from the crowd on the other side of the track. Was he the most popular British driver on the day? No, Lando had bigger cheers. But that didn't bother Lewis. He scored the win. After jumping off the car, he ran to his team, then he walked back and gave Lando a hug, who was then consoled by Jenson Button before his interview. Then I noticed him beckoning someone. It was his mum. The last time I saw Carmen at the track was 2019, when she was out with him celebrating that win. Now, Lewis would have loved to have gone out and crowd surfed. That was in 2017, and I was there for that moment, and it was amazing. But that wasn't possible at this race because the track invasion was banned. When I say banned, it was limited to just those people who had tickets in the Vale stand, and they did actually rush across the track, but that was well after when Lewis wanted to do the crowd surfing. Lewis then did his interview with Jenson Button. I thought he was quite humble at that point. In the meantime, I noticed Max consoling Lando as the pair walked off. Then it was off to the podium, and when he walked up, he had Bono in front of him, his engineer, and at one point I thought, he's going to get on his shoulders. But he didn't. He just kept pushing him through to their positions on the podium. Then he draped the flag around his shoulders, and at that point I thought, I wonder what sponsors think of that, because their logos are actually covered. But of course, it doesn't happen very often, so I think they're more than happy to share his excitement. Then it was time for the bubbly spraying, and straight away, Bono got the full force from Lewis. Max chimed in, Lando a little bit late on the scene. I got the impression that he was fairly disappointed, perhaps felt like he looks in this flag picture. A lot of you saying on Instagram that you preferred it when Lando was thrilled when he got a podium instead of being disappointed. But I guess that's what comes when you raise the bar, as Lando has done. After the group of four pick, it was then down to the media pen where they did their media commitments. And you might have noticed Brad Pitt in the background, also Damson Idris. These are the two actors in the F1 movie, and I'll get to that a little bit later in this video. But yes, they were also being interviewed, but by their crew, not by any of the TV networks. Sometime later, I popped into the press conference room, and I was surprised to see just two of them there. Lewis was still doing his media stuff downstairs because he was such a popular character after a long gap between wins. But eventually he popped in, and after that it was down to pit lane for a celebration shot. Now, I've missed these over the years because some teams do sellies for second and third, like for instance McLaren did a celebration for third, whereas Mercedes only do them for a win. Of course, Lewis has been used to coming out of the FIA garage for a lot of those races over the past 2.5 years, but it was great to see him back on the top step. He came in dressed in Ferrari red yesterday, but he did leave a rejuvenated winner. And will we see Kimi Antonelli perhaps in that seat next year? Still plenty of talk around that. Now, don't doubt that this race is a big deal, with some 140,000 spectators there on Sunday. This is a major sports event, and there were so many celebrities at the track, and I'm going to do a whole separate video about who I saw, because it was a flood. And a lot of those people came in via helicopter. It was like Heathrow Airport, with helicopters coming and going every couple of minutes, especially post-race. Let's jump to the back of the FIA garage and tell you what happened out there with all the non-winners. Sergio Perez, obviously one of the disappointed drivers. Is there an escape clause for Red Bull to perhaps put Liam Lawson in that seat? Or some talk of Daniel Ricciardo. I think we'll know by the break, and that's another 2 races away. Family members and partners. I can tell you that Lando Norris's parents were both there, along with his brother Oliver. We had Alex's sister and mother. I never saw George's family, but that's not to say they weren't there. Lewis Hamilton's brother was there. Lance Stroll's father and stepmum were in attendance. I spoke to Joe Ricciardo, Daniel's dad, for a couple of minutes. Oscar and Lily were together. Alex and Lily were together. And in fact, when they came in on the Sunday morning, which was wet, Alex, for a joke, dropped his umbrella at me while I was photographing. That was shades of the Carlos Sainz umbrella dropping on the walkway in Montreal. Pierre Gasly and Kika arrived together on separate scooters, and I'll delve more into that in my Drivers Drove video later this week. Tiffany and Valtteri were in attendance. And then there's the fashion. Daniel and Yuki coming dressed in Hugo outfits on the Sunday. Rhys James in a very colourful outfit here. He's a British soccer player. Mary Earps, another soccer player, or footballer as my British viewers will say. She was emblazoned with Louis Vuitton. And Zach Ashley. Now, who's Zach Ashley? He's a bit of a character, well known in the paddock. He arrived in what Christian Horner said was an outfit that made him look like a deck chair. Congrats to Nico Hulkenberg on his second sixth place finish in a row, earning some good points for the Haas team, and they're quite buoyed at the moment. Nice to see Jackie Stewart there with his lovely wife Helen. He and Helen raise a lot of money for the Dementia Foundation, but it was good to see them in the paddock. This young lady here had a master marketing strategy. She would position herself just in front of the swipe gates and offer every driver a sweet. Of course, if you're a driver, a team principal, or even a world-renowned chef, you couldn't possibly refuse such an offer, and I didn't see anyone refuse her. Let's jump to Brad Pitt now, and he was a big story, of course, filming for the movie F1, and that was announced on the weekend too. And not only is it called F1, they're using the F1 logos. Of course, this is a tremendous branding strategy for the sport. He came in about the same time as most of the media were out on the grid covering the drivers' parade. He arrived with his girlfriend Ines de Ramon. Now, this was the first time the pair have been seen in public, I believe, so there was huge interest in these pictures that went all around the world. Did he stop for selfies and autographs? Yes. And I'll tell you, this young lady here spent best part of the day waiting for drivers and celebrities. He got out of his car on one of the days and went to walk in, and then he looked at the crowd and said, "One selfie," and he picked her because she was ready and she got an autograph. And still on Brad Pitt, he went to the drivers' briefing on Friday night and had a chat with all of the drivers, just outlining what he would do on the race weekend so that they were aware. Here's some pictures of Zach Brown and one of his crew going for a run in the paddock, not for exercise purposes, but for keeping dry purposes. Now, thank you to those people who came to the meet and greet out at Luffield on the second session. I was supposed to be there the first, but I mucked it up. But I must admit, I was hellishly surprised to see this lady holding my head. She'd actually taken it off my website, I think, had it blown up, printed. She's a BBC presenter, so well done, Emma Millen. You made me laugh. You might remember that the circuit organisers weren't happy with Max Verstappen because it was ruining the competition and impacting ticket sales. Well, I can tell you that Sunday race day was indeed a sellout. Lando was even doing some promotion on his social media for it, so well done for selling out all those tickets. And I believe now that we have a sport where there are, 5 or so teams that can actually win a race. And that is exciting. Now, for the first time ever, I saw Daniel Ricciardo covered in a tarpaulin in the garage. Why? Well, they were spraying Flow-Vis on the back of the car, and that's the way they protect their driver. Low tech, but effective. Well, I've got to tell you, Sunday race day was one of the most remarkable days I've had in Formula One. There was so much going on, it was action-packed. I was there for 12 hours and loved almost every minute of it. In closing, congratulations to the GOAT. He's back. And for a whole lot of extra content and stuff, head over here and have a look. Thanks for watching.
And stay passionate!
Let's change the angle up a little bit here.